the gospel begins with the idea that we are all sinners and we all morally mess up. And not only do we all morally mess up, but we all morally mess up in a very serious way that separates us from God.
What we have here, and picked from no mean source, is a distillation of precisely what is twisted and immoral in the faith mentality. Its essential fanaticism, its consideration of the human being as raw material, and its fantasy of purity. Once you assume a creator and a plan, it makes us objects in a cruel experiment whereby we are created sick and commanded to be well. I'll repeat that. Created sick and then ordered to be well.
But thankfully it doesn't end there. And the beauty of the gospel is that God loves us a lot. And he loves us so much that he became a man and lived a perfect life and died in our place. And then he rose from the dead, and now he reigns over all creation. And for me personally, the beauty of the story and the way the story shows God's love is one of the things that has drawn me to Christianity and has kept me a Christian even through very serious doubts. And yeah, there's some tough philosophical questions about how exactly Jesus takes our sin on the cross, and I think those are interesting and worth exploring, but at the same time, we can still see the beauty of the gospel and see the beauty of God's love without understanding, the exact mechanics of all that stuff. So,
the exact mechanics. Let's not pay too much attention to the exact mechanics of the all-powerful God of the universe creating himself as a man so that he can then be brutally tortured and murdered on a crucifix to somehow take the sins of all humanity for which they had no part in. And by no part in, what I mean is that you're supposed to be created with sin because some guy, Adam, and his wife Eve, ate some fruit some several thousand years ago, and therefore the fall of man, and man is created with sin ever since then, that you are supposed to bear that burden. But the burden has been lifted because the all-powerful God of the universe made himself a man and then had humans torture and crucify and murder this man to somehow take away that sin that somehow he created.
I just think the way God's love is shown through the gospel is an amazing thing. And
God's love is shown through the gospel. So God's love is shown because he created himself as a man so that he could then be brutally murdered and tortured and crucified, because a blood sacrifice is what God requires to forgive us for our supposed sins that he imbued upon us. That's God's love, because the all-powerful God of the universe couldn't find any other way other than to brutally murder and torture and crucify another human being and bear his blood, so therefore we're forgiven.
It's changed my life.
Changed your life. So capturing Christianity. If I buy a t-shirt for $21.99 plus tax and shipping, am I forgiven? Because, today I messed up morally. I really messed up today. I wore linen and wool. Can you ever forgive me? If I buy a t-shirt for $29.99 plus tax and shipping, do I get forgiveness?